You're enjoying Racing World. It's brought to you by Perspective Group. It's your global motorsport podcast show brought to you in conjunction with Race Control Magazine.
Well, it's the end of August, and boy oh boy, isn't there so much happening in motorsport. Let's get right into it today on Racing World. Well, it's a to and fro of motorsport this week, that's for sure. So let's start in something that we don't always do, but something that's very special to the hearts of New Zealanders, NASCAR. Two things there this week. One, they announced just this morning that there'll be a race in 2025 for the NASCAR Cup Series in Mexico. So NASCAR goes offshore, effectively, to Mexico in 25. And then the other big one that New Zealanders have been behind, obviously, is SVG, full-time Cup drive in 2025. Now, this is a major thing to get into the Cup game. I remember many years ago talking to Marcus Armstrong when I was lucky enough to see him a few times race at Michigan, and he said to me that if you think supercars is tough, NASCAR top class is the real deal. So SVG's in for a big learning curve still, but isn't it amazing that we now have a Kiwi in the upper levels of the NASCAR Cup Series, and wishing SVG all the very best in 25, that's for sure. And what a classic number two, 88. So many drivers have run that 88 before, and now he gets to run it as well. Well, from NASCAR to Formula One, and there's plenty going on there as well. Great race in the Netherlands last weekend. Lando Norris taking another win. The acid now on Max Verstappen and Red Bull, and it'll be very interesting to see how these next races play out. New track surface at Monza for this weekend's back-to-back race. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. It's evidently not favouring Mercedes for whatever reason, but it's a very low downforce circuit. So it'll be game on again. You'd think that it would slightly favour the Red Bull with the top end that they've had in the past, but let's just wait and see. And of course, the other news: Logan Sargent out after a big accident in practice 3 at the Netherlands, but finally Williams having to make the call, and Logan now departs the team for the rest of the season. And of course, Carlos Sainz taking that seat next year. Now, there was a lot of speculation as who would go there. Will it be Mick Schumacher or even Kiwi Liam Lawson? Both sort of were approached. Red Bull was approached about Lawson, but in the end of the day, the deal didn't come together. And Williams chose to take from within. And I think that that's actually a very smart move from James Vowles. It's why do you have junior drivers within your team if you need to go shopping outside your team? So great thing for them to bring Franco Canapinto up into the main game for the balance of the season as part of their driver academy program inside the Williams team. It'd be interesting to see how he goes alongside teammate Alex Albon. Well, plenty going on in Formula One, and of course the quickest race of the season, Monza, this weekend. So it will be all on there. It's always a great race, great crowd, and of course you can't forget that Ferrari passion. So let's just see how that plays out. Now, moving on to IndyCar and last weekend's race at Portland, the last road course race of the season before we run these 3 oval races to round out season 2024. This comes off the back of the race at Worldwide Technology on an oval the week before, and then to the road course configuration, and then this weekend the double header at Milwaukee, the return to the flat track 1 mile oval in Milwaukee. But to kick things off, a driver that's been on the horizon, one of our own, Kiwi Marcus Armstrong, had the chance to talk to him after practice where he shone very well at Portland, and it seems to be a track that he likes, so it was great to be able to catch up with Marcus.
David Turner's Racing World. Go ahead. Unmute yourself, David.
Thanks very much, Dave. Nice to see you again, Marcus. Just a couple of things looking at Portland. How important is it when we come to the race on where you qualify in that run down to turn 1?
Sorry, David, I didn't hear a single word.
give us 20 seconds, David.
You live
Dan Anderson cars. The series are passing by. Hang on. Okay, give it another shot, David.
Okay, thanks very much, Dave. Marcus, good to see you again, bud. One of the things I was thinking about was this run down to turn 1 at Portland and how volatile it's been in the past. How important is the onus on qualifying then to try and stay out of some of that mess if it happens?
It's important at every circuit. You could argue that here is no different to any other track because there's so much action anyway. I mean, we've seen Alex and Scott in 2021 start from pole, and I think both first and third, maybe first and second, something like that. They both got pushed wide at the first corner, went to last, came back through the field. So you could argue that if you have the pace, you can still finish at the front. I think Alex won that race for the record. So I feel like if you have the pace, it's no different to any other race.
And then just watching a few people during that session, how aggressive do you have to be on the curbing around there? Like it seems pretty unforgiving, but you've got to attack it as well, don't you?
Turn one is a true challenge, especially now with the hybrid. It's a bit heavier. The car is a bit heavier. It's a bit slower to change direction, and over the bump of turn one and turn two, it seems it seems a bit more lazy, and then the bumper fix it more just due to the weight. So it is more challenging this year, but it's the same as last year. You want to be right up against the inside wall and ideally clipping it, but not too hard.
And just quickly before cars come past again, just the run at last weekend at Gateway, great run on the oval. You've got a couple more ovals to go this season. The transition for you into the oval racing, are you enjoying that?
Yeah, I loved racing at St. Louis. It was a lot of fun, and everyone was surprised by how great the racing was. And frankly, I'm adapting to it. I felt like it was very natural inside the car. So I'm looking forward to the next races.
That's cool. Well, we look forward to catching up with you in Nashville. We'll be there in a couple of weeks' time. So go well this weekend, and we'll see you soon. Mark is certainly starting to take to the ovals. You've got to remember, for a driver like him coming from New Zealand and then racing in Europe, the ovals are an all-new beast. He qualified for the Indy 500 this year, very respectively, I might add, and then had the early engine failure, which was just one of those things that can happen to any driver. Had a good run at Iowa on the doubleheader there, and then, of course, at Worldwide Technology, he shone. So I think that he actually looks quite excited about the idea of these ovals that are remaining. So it'd be very good to see him go. He had a great weekend at Portland overall, finishing in the top 5, as we'll talk about a little later on. But he's certainly cementing himself at the end of the season. And if there are to be changes at the Ganassi squad, he has to keep himself as a contender. And right now he's doing all the right things. Dario Franchitti, a very close ally within the team as a driver coach, and he seems to have taken a shine to Armstrong. So we hope that that plays itself out. Now, speaking of sensation, of course, the man with the great hairdo, Santino Ferrucci, taking out the pole position at Portland. This was a major, major thing. Over the last time that a Foyt car was in this position was 2014. So it's a long time ago for the Foyt team between drinks, that's for sure. Ferrucci, we saw him down here many, many years ago in what was then the Toyota Racing Series. And he's shone on the ovals for the Foyt racing team, particularly at Indianapolis over the past couple of years. But this was a great thing to see, a road course pole position for the AJ Foyt team, and for Ferrucci to do it as well. Their number one driver, if you like, with Stingray Rog being number 2. A lot of things happening with next year, but it was just really, really great to see Larry Foyt and the team take out that pole position at Portland.
You can just see how happy everybody is, because a couple of years ago it was very a struggle, and we've just kept building this team, kept adding better people, and it's led to all this, having some consistency with Santino. And man, it's just, everyone's just really happy. It just really, this whole year, I mean, even fighting for top 10 in the championship was a huge step up. And now the qualifying pace, see, don't say you're not a good qualifier now. You can't say that.
Yeah.
Then a big thing for the Foyt team this year is they've had a strategic alliance like so many of these teams seem to have these days, and their one has been with Penske. It's very interesting to see whether or not that has been a help. We've certainly seen a significant gain in the Foyt cars since this alliance took place, and of course just only last week Andretti announcing that they were out of the alliance game with everyone. But this was fruit of the investment, if you like, from Foyt's and Penske, and Ferrucci did a great job.
Oh, it's great. Obviously, I mean, they've been super to work with, and I've learned a lot, and so can't thank them enough for everything that they've done to just help us achieve this and get to where we're headed. So, awesome organization to be with.
And then, of course, the other thing on everyone's mind, the fact that these seats are still up for grabs at AJ Foyt Racing next year. You'd have to think that Ferrucci's in there. I'm not sure about Stingray Rob. We know that Malukas is going there. And, we just hope that Ferrucci gets that seat, because I think he really deserves it.
Very much found a home here with Larry and, AJ Foyt. So I want to stay. And I think, that's kind of in the cards here. And obviously there's a lot that needs to happen, and still a pretty big off season, but getting pole today definitely doesn't hurt. So.
Well, Ferrucci would certainly be a contender for that seat, and taking nothing away from Stingray Rob. He's done a great job. He's had a great part of this season as well. But the lineup of Malukas and Ferrucci, I think, would be a great thing for AJ Foyt Racing. And here's a little twist, just a little thing. It was very interesting, the fact that Malukas has gone to Foyt when everyone thought that he would stay at Shank Racing. Now, it's just over 12 months ago, Malukas was one of those names that you kind of associated with maybe he would join Team Penske. Would he be a Will Power replacement? Would he be an additional car? It kept coming up again and again and again, and now we find him at Foyt's. And who do Foyt's have the alliance with? Team Penske. So you've got to wonder, further down the track, although he's saying that he's in this game for a long time yet, is this the replacement plan for Will Power ultimately? Because you'd have to think he will be the first driver of the current squad to retire. So it would just be very interesting to see how that plays out. The other great thing, of course, after qualifying, is I got the chance to talk to Will. He's a great guy. I really have taken a liking to Will. It's always good to talk with him, and you can chew the fat with him really well. And as always, yeah, great to talk with Will.
Just looking at this final stretch of races that we've got here with the three oval races to come, you've got to feel a little bit more confident than, say, Alex in that situation, considering Alex hasn't had an oval victory or anything.
Yeah, based on our oval form this year, we should be more confident than he is. You never know in this series, though. I think Dixon's very strong at Nashville. Milwaukee, sort of, we haven't been there, so we don't know. But ultimately, we have to finish ahead of him every weekend. It's the only way. So anything can happen in this series. Look at last week. I mean, I had led so many laps. I had the quickest car, and I finished 18th just because of a restart. And same with Toronto, the race before. I was running in the top 4 or 5 and had an incident, gave myself a drive-through. So a lot can go down and change quickly. So we'll see how this plays out.
And then just looking at the race tomorrow, based on where you're starting, maybe where Alex is starting, but a lot of the other championship potential contenders are caught in that sort of awkward midfield area, which is not a place to be at Portland, is it, come the start of the race?
Yeah, it's definitely a tough place to be at the start of the race, no question. So we'll see. Yeah, it can even be tough where I am, honestly. Like, really, you want to be the lead. That's why I was mad after I didn't get poles. Like, man, I needed that. I need to get that jump out of the front of the whole field and take off. But yeah, they have the leader go early, which sort of strings it out more than it used to. So that will help. So we'll see what happens.
Looking forward to it, Will, and best of luck in the warm-up this afternoon and then the race tomorrow, and look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Onwards to the race, and other than the Dixon incident that happened on lap 1, there really wasn't that much to talk about in this race. It was a race that just kind of played itself out. For the Dixon thing, I think there's 2 rules of thumb there. Was Dixon right coming back on the track? Wasn't he? There's some people that I know that feel he wasn't. I personally think he did the right thing, and the fact that he got pushed there to start with by Kyle Kirkwood and then finished off by Fittipaldi was a big game changer for Dixon's run for this championship. He's still mathematically in this game, so you never say never in IndyCar, that's for sure, but this did a lot of damage to Dixon the past weekend. Then on the podium, of course, we had Will, we had Alex Palou, and we had Josef Newgarden. Surprise, surprise. The big thing I think that's going on here right now is that there's a lot of talk about how Penske have a tight-knit organisation, and the mind games going into this run of championship things. Josef Newgarden is classic at doing this, and he started to play this head game with Alex Palou, who's too smart for that, I might add. But it was very interesting at the press conference how Josef tried to play a bit of a mind game with Alex about the fact that Alex doesn't perform that well on ovals, and equally these are ovals that he's never been to. So just take a look at this. I think it's tongue-in-cheek as well, but it's very interesting how these things can play on a driver's mind, that's for sure.
Are you following this? Are you listening?
No, I was just looking at the...
No, you should be very concerned.
I'm very
Alex.
concerned.
This is not good. It's not good for you history-wise, as Jenna pointed out. And yeah, alarming. I mean,
Except if I
alarm
go-
bells are going off. Let me tell you that right now. So it's good
I
to be
don't
on our
even know
team.
if I'll show up to Milwaukee
Yeah,
because
you
I'm
might
so
as well not.
nervous.
It's so bleak. You might as well not go.
You know what? I'll go. I'll go.
Look, this guy is excellent. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball. I think Alex is pretty damn good at what he does. And, look, he's not, you never raced at Milwaukee, right? That's okay. He hasn't raced at a lot of places and he proves pretty well. So I think it suits us. There's no doubt, when you speaking logically, I think the ovals have been our strong suit for the last multiple seasons. I think no doubt it's going to suit us, but Alex is a great competitor. It's so difficult to understand how this stuff goes. IndyCar is, I mean, as soon as you try and predict it, it does something different. So I think he's one of the most formidable opponents that you can find in racing across the world, regardless if it's IndyCar or something else. So I wouldn't feel confident or overconfident with anything that we're doing. I think we've got a tough fight ahead as a team, and we're going to try and get in front of him. But he's one of the best that we're going against.
I think he kind of tidied it up a little bit at the end by kind of acknowledging the fact that, IndyCar is what it is. But, mind games, no matter what league you're in, where it goes back as far as karting or domestic motorsport on any level, they do play a part in things. And that's one of the things we teach drivers at the Motorsport New Zealand Elite Academy, is about mind behaviour, if you like. But Josef's certainly playing every hand he could there. The interesting thing, I think, is that he's still hungry for wins. Now, wins will make a difference in this championship because that's stealing points from willpower. So somewhere along the line, Team Penske are going to have to decide just what they want to do, just as much as Ganassi's will do. And I think that, Dixon is a realistic enough sort of guy that he's probably going to play that team game because he knows that the chances took a big hit after last weekend. But I don't think you'll see that come into play until after Milwaukee race 1. And then things will change and should change into a team scenario, you would hope. But I did get the chance to ask Will that exact question.
We have the cars to win, and we want to win the championship. Yes, that's probably what we should do. With 3 to go, we should probably, be looking at how can we get the 12 car in the best possible position, because really that's our only chance. We've got 3 really good drivers, 4 really, if you include Santino, that are capable of running at the front. So, that can take up a lot of positions, and if I'm at the head of that group and we win the race, that starts to make things look possible. So, we'll talk about that when we get to Milwaukee, see if that's a possibility.
Well, not 100% convincing from Will there. It kind of left you thinking a little bit. You can certainly see what he was thinking, exactly the same thing as I was thinking, with the fact that it's time for Team Penske to maybe close ranks around Will and look after him as their top contender for the championship. Josef, on the other hand, still has his eye on race wins, and McLaughlin still can mathematically win this championship. Mathematically, that's all though. But it will be very interesting. I'd love to be a fly on the wall in that conversation in the Penske hauler when they talk about that. But as I mentioned before, I don't think that we're going to see anything like that come into play until after the first race at the Milwaukee Mile, and then maybe things will change as a result of that. But I think we have to get one more race under our belt before the teams start to do things. And for Will, the big thing is he must keep finishing ahead of Palou if he's going to have any shot at this championship. But I got the chance to talk to Will post-race, as I had after practice and qualifying, and as I said, it's always a joy to talk to Will.
Time for a couple off of Zoom. David Turner from David Turner Racing World. Go ahead, David.
Thanks, Dave. Congratulations, Will. Great drive today. Just looking at a couple of things that you've just been talking about just then. Consistency is a thing that wins the championship, but also there's the consistency from the guys that deliver that car to you each week. How hard is this run to the final group of races for them?
Yeah, it is very much about the consistency of pit stops, car preparation, the guys that build the engines, all those things are going to play a part. So, kind of a grueling season, as in they've got to pack up now, rebuild a car, rebuild 3 cars before we go to Milwaukee. I mean, it's the same for every team. I mean, it's absolutely a team sport, I can tell you that. Just haven't been in this for so long. Like I said, to get the ingredients of, the fastest pit crew, the best team, the best engine, and being one of the best drivers, to get that combination is so difficult. You look through the whole field. I mean, all those guys are capable of winning. So yeah, got to feel fortunate to be a part of a team like Penske where you're given those ingredients.
Then just quickly looking at the factors in play, and you mentioned that, you know, in effect, you're the leading contender for Team Penske now, with Palou being the contender for Ganassi. Do you feel that maybe the Dixon factor, considering he's won at Nashville before, can that have an effect on the championship if they let him loose to cover for Palou and affect you?
Yes. Having tested there with Dixon is very good at Nashville. Yeah, I said that before. Like, I could see him winning that race. I see him being very competitive. So he could play a part, absolutely. In a scenario where we must win, you're probably going to be fighting Dixon. So
the key message then still is what you've been saying: stay ahead of Alex at all times and see how the rest of the cards fall. That's
our only shot. That is our only shot. We must be continually finishing ahead of him and see where it falls.
Well, all the best. Great result today. Look forward to seeing Milwaukee next week and catching up with you at Nashville as well.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, great stuff there from Will, and the championship is certainly alive and kicking. 2 races this weekend at the Milwaukee Mile. The return to the Milwaukee Mile, a flat oval, no banking, dead flat. World famous, used to be after the Indy 500 years and years ago, and it was his traditional home. But here we see a double header. A lot of points on the table this weekend. Effectively, there's 106 points there to take. So there are plenty of people still in this equation. Will it be a 2-horse race? Will Herta still stay in this? Will McLaughlin and Dixon play a part? Only time will tell. But short track oval specialists, you'd have to think Team Penske, all 3 of their cars are going to be there, and it's where they start stealing points from each other. So it'll be very interesting to play out. Now, just before we go, just to have the chance also to catch up with Dan Anderson, the head of what used to be the Road to Indy Series, now the US Pro Championship Series. And Liam Skeet's running in USF Pro this year. Many other drivers have been through there before. Jacob Douglas, hoping to return next year, was there last year. And of course, Hunter McElrea, a graduate of that entire Road to Indy series, and had his IndyCar debut just recently as well. Dan's one of those guys that you can't help but like, and it was just very interesting to hear from him and have a quick chance about what he feels the season has done so far for him.
If interest in open wheel racing was lessening, but quite the contrary. The fields have grown on all 3 levels. Our juniors program, which is only the most recently introduced series that we have, grew quite a bit. And we're taking the young drivers right out of karting and out of Skip Barber and other training things, and starting the process of developing them into IndyCar drivers and sometimes sports car drivers. So the program is working. A lot of graduates in Indy Next, a lot of graduates in IndyCar, and we are proud of all of them. They're all my kids.
Great words from Dan. I remember meeting him at the Indianapolis Raceway Park several years ago when we were out there watching Hunter McElrea race, and he does always refer to the drivers in the series as his boys. One last thing then, just before we go, and that's the Milwaukee Mile, and we've touched on it so much in the show today, but we had the chance just this morning before we put the show together to hear from Graham Rahal about his thoughts on Milwaukee.
It's probably my favorite oval. I've said that for years. Flat, 1 mile, a lot of different pavement types, big dip in turn 1 after corner entry, super challenging place. So, I'm excited. I'm excited to go back. Obviously, Hy-Vee, the sponsor this weekend of the race itself. Hendrickson's on our car. Had a good result last weekend with them on the car, so hopefully we'll keep that good luck, good mojo going. But we're excited, particularly after St. Louis. I know the end result with the engine blowing up, we didn't get to show it, but the car was fast at St. Louis in the race. I thought we did a great job. We were off strategy on purpose. Starting 14th, we needed to do something a little different, and it was shaping up good. Obviously didn't get to the end, to show kind of what we had, but I'm positive about Milwaukee. Big weekend, doubleheader. 3 races to go, all ovals. So let's see what happens here.
It'll be very interesting to see how the Rahal cars go. I don't always put them in contention these days. Their oval form, certainly on the super speedways at Indianapolis over the last couple of years, has been doubtful to say the least. But, you know, Graham speaks from the heart, just as many drivers do. It's always good to hear from him. Very interesting to see how he thought about Milwaukee as well. So, great 2 races ahead this weekend for IndyCar. Formula One at Monza. There's plenty going on, that's for sure. Can't wait to be able to talk about it all next week as we count down to the final round. And of course, Racing World will be at Nashville for every day that wheels turn at Nashville. We'll be there, so we'll have some special shows for you from there as well. But in the meantime, thanks once again for listening and watching Racing World.